Welcome. I'm Shaylin Stimson, Events Manager at Tech Manitoba. So today I will be your host for our virtual event, Own It, Navigating Influence, Confidence, and Connection in Tech with Maureen Kinnear. As we gather virtually for this Manitoba Women in Tech event, we take a moment to acknowledge that we are connecting from many places, each with its own relationship to land, history, and community. Manitoba Women in Tech is located on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, the national homeland of the Red River Métis. We recognize the enduring presence and deep-rooted knowledge systems of Indigenous peoples across Manitoba, and we affirm our responsibility to work towards reconciliation in meaningful ways. As a community committed to innovation, inclusion, and connection, we reflect on how we can support Indigenous voices and perspectives in the tech sector and beyond. So I'm thrilled to be here with all of you as we celebrate the incredible community we've built together through the combined forces of Tech Manitoba, New Media Manitoba, and North Forge. Together with our amazing allies, we're here to create space where we can share experiences, applaud accomplishments, and champion tech activities in an environment that is safe, gender inclusive, and judgment-free. One thing that makes our community special is our culture of respect we uphold. Our code of conduct for all events is simple: be respectful, kind, and support each other. It's a principle we live by and encourage you to take a moment to review through our link in the shared chat. Since our establishment in 2020, this community has grown to an incredible 2,200 plus people. Whether you're here to network, learn something new, or just meet others in your industry, this is the place for you. So before we get formally started, I'd like to make a couple announcements. Our next event is coming up on June 11th in the evening from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. MB Wind Tech in the Sky. So that one's going to be on the rooftop and top floor of the new Wawanisa building downtown. So join us 21 floors up at the new Wawanisa offices for an evening of connection, conversation, and an inspiring panel featuring women in tech. It's the perfect mix of skyline views, summer vibes, and powerful stories. You won't want to miss it. I also want to point out we have about 14 spots left on the registration. So if you haven't signed up yet, I encourage you to do so right away. And if you have signed up but can no longer make it, please unregister from the list so we can make space for new people. Currently, we are looking for a corporate sponsor to partner with and help us kick off our new programming starting in September. Our event sponsor for the Holiday Mixer is also an opportunity that's happening in November. Your support will help us continue offering impactful monthly virtual events and create more opportunities to gather in person. If your company is passionate about championing diversity and tech and wants to connect with our community, please reach out to one of our executive committee members, so myself, Tina Lee, or Whitney Morgan. My email will be directly in the chat, so you can find that there or by clicking on any of our profiles. We'd love to explore opportunities and how we could potentially align. Okay, so with no further ado, I'm thrilled to welcome Maureen Kinnear, Chief Technology Officer at Payworks, to today's event. With more than 20 years of global leadership experience across energy, agriculture, and tech sectors, Maureen brings a dynamic and empowering perspective on what it means to lead with purpose and authenticity. As CTO at Payworks, Maureen oversees development, project management, and IT infrastructure, driving innovation while building a culture rooted in collaboration, curiosity, and a little bit of fun. Her journey has taken her from Houston to Calgary and now back to her roots in Winnipeg, where she continues to champion digital innovation, mentorship, and inclusive leadership. Maureen is also a dedicated coach and active board member, passionate about helping others navigate their path in tech with confidence. Today, she'll share insights on building trust, embracing your influence, and defining success on your own terms, whether you're just starting out or stepping into the next chapter of your career. So please help me give a warm welcome to Maureen Kinnear.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see everyone here today. And now so this is interesting, Shaylin. We practiced the technology and I'm trying to share. Okay. And it's giving me something different. So hold on a second here. Present content. It says content link. So let's see if that works.
Or try the share button instead of present content.
And do that instead?
Yeah,
There we go. Okay,
that's what we
we're
practiced.
good to go.
Perfect.
I just needed some remedial training. Thank you. In real time.
No problem. There we go.
Okay, here we go. That's what we want to see. Excellent. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so pleased to be here and see, I don't know, almost 50 people coming here to listen in and have a conversation about leading boldly in technology. It's something that I am deeply committed to. I think it's really, really important, and I'm happy to have the conversation with all of you. I hope that I am able to inspire a new voice in your head. We're going to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome today and how to send it to the pit. Anyway, let's get rolling. So, as I said before, we'll talk about advocating effectively, expanding your influence, leading authentically, and wait for it, we're going to find our inner rhinoceros. So stay with me, folks. The whole point of this is to have some imagery in your head as you leave today to lead boldly and lead with confidence in the role that you play today. Whether you're a female in a female or gender diverse individual in technology, whether you're anyone leading anywhere, it's good to have imagery of a voice to follow that will squash that imposter syndrome that we all know comes up from time to time. So we'll talk through action focused strategies that you can implement. My hope is that you can walk away with one or two things that you can take with you and start doing right away after our chat today. But before we get into that, let's talk about why boldness matters for females in IT leadership. Um, I'm going to be real today. We're going to talk realities. Let's face it, the IT space is homogeneous, and in real words, it's male dominated. Full stop. Right. So I've been in the IT arena for almost 25 years now, and I hope that things are changing. I hope that now and into the future, as women rise in the ranks technically and in leadership levels in the tech sector, we see more and more females, and we see more and more females at the table together, and it's a more gender diverse table as we have discussions. That is my wish. Um, I often see that when I'm in technical discussions, I am the only woman, and I'm used to it, and it's fine. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the headwinds that you may face or are facing, and how you can turn those in to tailwinds. But what I will say, and I hope that I can inspire in everyone in this call, whether you're an ally or someone experiencing challenges in this space, or you just want to own your place and feel confident, is that all of you here are responsible for helping to change that. As an individual who can help support others who are looking for a successful careers in technology, you can help make that happen. So boldness matters because is the only one at the table, you need to speak up. You need to be heard. I assure you that your perspective is different. You have a different experience than many at the table, and especially if you're the only one. And that is good. That is good. I wholeheartedly believe that speaking up when you have a different perspective is really, really important, especially in IT, because we're working to solve hard problems, and more information into the pool of knowledge will get us to a better place collectively. So speaking up creates chances to make that impact, to find a better solution for what's being discussed at the table. I would also talk about, I'm a huge fan of challenging the status quo. Why is one of my favorite questions, and it's never in a place to challenge necessarily what people are thinking. It's really to understand. And we need more women in tech helping to challenge those norms, asking different questions. Like I said before, bring your experience to that table. Because remember that you, as the emerging tech professional, the ally, or the female tech leader, you're challenging that homogeneous norm that might exist at the table, maybe some of the group think because of group experience and people having the same things. And you're opening doors for that next generation. It's important for us as females in tech to show up with confidence, to ask questions, to be seen and heard, so that others after you will walk with confidence into those roles and know that it is possible. So at the end of the day, when you lead boldly, you're demonstrating what's possible for others. and your example that's going to empower others to step forward with their authentic style and their authentic way of working. So as you see at the bottom here, it's really about taking your space and inspiring others to follow. This is really, really important because you need to be able to look up, whether it's technically or from a leadership perspective, and provide those opportunities for others. So let's go into a little bit about finding your inner rhinoceros. So I decided on the rhinoceros because of many things, and I'm going to walk you through a little bit of my career context to help you understand why I thought that this is a good voice to have in your head. So the rhinoceros symbolizes strength. It symbolizes resilience. And I think the rhinoceros, in my mind, it teaches us to withstand adversity while staying focused on our path. So as I said, there are headwinds. And there's headwinds for everyone in every career. In technology, I would say there for me in the 25 years that I've been practicing in technology, the headwinds that I experienced earlier in my career were a lot more than they are today. So I think things have changed, but they're still there. And there is that glass ceiling, and I believe that we all need to work together. We all need to quiet that imposter syndrome voice. We need to just squash it and throw it out and think a little bit differently and have the confidence and the strength and the resilience to move forward. So let me share with you a few of the things that were said to me earlier on in my career that if I didn't have the rhinoceros mindset, it would have been a lot harder, I think, to stay focused. So when I reflect back, here's a little bit of context. I hope that others haven't heard these, but these are things that were said to me as I was trying to navigate what I wanted to be. 20 years later, as I sit here, I had a male colleague in an elevator say to me, "Must be nice to have a baby and come back with a promotion." Okay. I had folks ask me, "Did you plan your pregnancy? Are you sure you want to have another child? It's probably going to hold you back." Um, you're looking for a new role after a maternity leave. Are you sure you're interested in that job? You're a new mom. It might be too much pressure. I'm not sure if we should think about that, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of anecdotal comments that have occurred in my past, and honestly, in those moments, it was tough, but my reaction was not sadness. My reaction was not, "Oh, I guess I don't belong." It honestly energized me, and maybe that's just my personal disposition, and I thought, excuse me, I'm going to show you that I belong, and I'm going to show you that I deserve the seat that I'm sitting in. And I did those things through identifying with these rhinoceros characteristics. So I will tell you that this rhinoceros idea, I didn't come up with it until recently. But these are the things that I thought of in my head as I squashed that imposter syndrome line of thought. If you think of a rhinoceros, they are thick skinned, right? They build resilience against criticism that would stop others, right? If we're thinking of it in terms of imagery. Unwavering determination, you need to pursue your goals with focused intensity, letting nothing block your way. Being strong willed, hold on to your ground confidently when faced with opposition, and have a resilient spirit. Transform those obstacles that may come in front of you and treat them as stepping stones for growth. Now, there's one important thing that I want to make sure that I make clear here. So, if we all act like rhinoceroses and we don't put some judgment on top of it, and we don't put professionalism on top of this, I want to make sure that it's really clear that this is not permission to go around and just do what you want when you want, not taking any permission, or sorry, not taking in any input from others. It's really about using this very strong voice that connects to rhinoceros characteristics to have that voice be louder than the imposter syndrome voice that is in your mind at times. We don't have it always. That is saying, "I'm not sure I'm ready. Whew. Am I going to succeed? I'm not really sure how to move forward." oh my gosh, this is hard and I don't feel like I have the support. So this is about taking that voice that's making you feel like maybe it's not possible and using a louder voice in the rhinoceros persona saying, I can do this. I will do this and I'm going to figure this out. And even though it makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to move forward because that uncomfortable feeling that I have in my mind and my gut, we've all had it, is actually the signal of a stepping stone that I'm going to grow and I'm going to learn. So I'm going to leave that with you all for just a minute and then we'll move on and talk about headwinds. Okay. So there's a number of headwinds that exist out there. And I'm going to serve you some rhinoceros tactics that you can take to counteract that voice in your head. So one of the headwinds that can be out there is being underestimated in technical conversations. Maybe you've experienced before where others interrupt you, or you don't feel like your input is being taken in, or it's assumed that you don't necessarily have the skills. The voice in your head in those moments needs to be the rhino doesn't say sorry for being strong and confident. As a skilled technical professional, it's important to speak up clearly and confidently in meetings. Do that, especially if you're feeling underestimated. One of the things that I will say that I've seen over my career in multiple companies working on global teams is there's probably 50% of a team group that gets together that don't really prepare for a meeting, and the other 50% probably do. And if you take just a little bit of extra care to prepare for that meeting, you'll have the knowledge, you'll have the information, show up ready to roll, show up with the questions and with input that you're ready to provide to help find those solutions to help lead the team. Know your facts. These are important things that everyone should be doing, no matter whether you face a headwind or not. But I'll tell you, if you take the time to be the person that shows up prepared, you will be listened to because you're going to have data to back up your story, and your preparedness becomes a tailwind that will help others see that you belong at the table and will give you the confidence to show up and listen to that rhinoceros in your head that says, speak up. You have a different perspective. Make sure that information gets on the table. The other one is lack of representation. Right? So there may be instances where there's few leaders that look like you or share your life experiences. Rhinoceroses don't follow paths, they create them. That should be the voice in your head. And this one is really about, for me, the way I think about it is showing others the way, be the tailwind for others, provide the allyship, and provide that representation. Set the example. With fewer leaders in the room that share your background, it's so crucial to set that example for others. Tell your story, help grow, to get noticed through your community and through public speaking. I mean, this is something like have conversations, provide mentorship, help others, be an ally. You are representing. Understand the role that you play in motivating others and walk confidently so they will too. So my hope is that we get to a place, and I hope in most cases we are in a place where these headwinds don't exist. But if you feel that you're feeling them, have that rhinoceros in your voice to say, I'm strong and competent. And even though there's not someone in the room that's like me, I deserve to be here. I was invited, therefore I belong. Headwinds 3 and 4. Number 3 is about navigating unconscious bias. So this is one where sometimes, individuals may be called pushy when confident or too soft. The rhino voice needs to stand firm with confidence and competence. Don't doubt yourself when others may feel threatened by your skills. And I would say there's a big difference between being professionally assertive and being pushy, right? Being professionally assertive is, taking the general, I would say this is how I interpret it, is taking the general interest mindset and making sure that all of the options are considered, making sure that we're bringing data forward in order to get to a decision. And I don't think that making sure that your voice is heard is pushy. And sometimes the way females or diverse individuals lead may be different. It might not follow the cookie cutter that exists within the corporate environment that you live in. But I would say that sometimes the soft part of you is needed to help the team through. So I think it becomes this balance of assertiveness and empathy. Use those as your guiding tools as you navigate the unconscious bias. Now, imposter syndrome, it's something that exists in everyone. And you may feel like you don't belong, even though you earned your place. So the rhino voice in your head to squash that voice that says, I don't know if I can do this. I don't think that I've got the experience, or oh my gosh, this is really nerve-wracking. How am I going to succeed? Those little voices that sit on this shoulder, put a bigger voice that's a rhinoceros on this shoulder and make sure it is speaking very loudly in your ear. That says, don't waste time doubting your strength. Charge forward and know that you belong, and that you belong in the herd. Ways to counteract sometimes those feelings of imposter syndrome that I know I use myself is remember your successes. Focus on moving forward and not necessarily fitting in, but remember that, you know, you're not necessarily trying to fit into the mold that is set around you, but you need to be professional. You should be building relationships with everyone around you. Um, and we'll talk about that a little bit later here. When I think of imposter syndrome, I mean, I like to say I don't have it. I think everyone has it in moments. I definitely have it, but I refuse to feel it. I have that voice on the on this side of my shoulder, always saying, "You've done stuff like this before. You've gotten through hard things, and you've got a lot of support around you and the relationships that you have built to help you through it. And the team makes the strategy happen. It's not always on you, right? So this is where relationships come in handy. I would say that my ability to let go of imposter syndrome is directly connected to the value that I put on relationships that I have within the corporate sector. So it's about building relationships with people and getting to know them, understanding your strengths and their strengths, and building those friendships within the work environment or the board environment or whatever environment you're trying to succeed in. And the more you work with others, the more they will, and you build relationships with them, the more you lift them up and they will lift you up. And then it won't matter what the table looks like because you feel like you're supported and you've got allies around you. And we'll move a little bit more into that in the subsequent slides. The headwind five, being passed over for stretch opportunities. You're told to wait your turn or get more experience. I've definitely had this happen to me in my career, and I took the notion of, well, I'm not going to wait to be chosen. I'm going to charge ahead and prove. And so ways that you can do that is, we'll talk about a little bit later, but if you are in a role or a position or experience that you feel like you can do more, focus headstrong on the experience or the strategy or the role that you are in now and do that job the best you can possibly do it. Knock it out of the park. And I will tell you, the fastest way out of something that you might not like, especially in a large corporate environment, is to knock it out of the park in your current role. Focus in on that. Focus in on being on time with your delivery, being consistent, being accurate, and being dependable, and do that with integrity. And the new opportunity will find you. Sometimes the things that I was not able to achieve because I had it on my roadmap of what I wanted to do later on in my career, I would hyper focus on what I was doing at that time. And often it would turn into a better opportunity that I didn't even know was on the table. You can also leverage your network to find individuals to support you, to get their feedback. We'll talk about it later too. Again, relationships is a big theme. It's important to make sure that you build those relationships, especially in a corporate environment, as you are progressing in your career. Because if people don't know who you are and what you do and what you're good at, your name won't get put forward for those next opportunities. And then the last one is isolation of room. You're the only one, yeah, you're the only woman, or you're the only one speaking up. The rhino voice that you need to start repeating in your mind is rhinos don't shrink in new territory. They take their seat and they own it. So this is again about building allies intentionally to pull others into the herd. I would say that over my career, I have felt less and less isolated being the only female in the room because I've built strong relationships with the individuals that I'm working with, regardless of whether it's at work or on a volunteer committee for my kids' hockey and lacrosse, or whether it's on a board. As I build relationships with others, the gender diversity starts to, for me, my perception of it starts to just float away because I feel like I have strong camaraderie and strong connection and strong allyship that is reciprocal with everyone in the room. And then I don't notice. So that's how I myself deal with that headwind. And I think the other thing that is important on the isolation side, maybe it's one or two, and there's 20 people in the room, and there's only a couple women. Um, think about this. You're if you're the only one in the room, and maybe you're the most senior technically or within the organization, and there's someone else who's you know earlier on in their career, they're watching to see how is this going to go. And remember, it only takes one confident voice to shift a room. Remember when there were dance mobs and stuff all over the internet? It only took one person to start dancing to get others to feel confident to do the same thing. So it's really important to make sure that you feel comfortable and find ways of counteracting that headwind of feeling isolated through those relationships, and having the confidence to speak up and share your perspective, because it gives the confidence to others in the room that maybe didn't have the confidence to speak up, that may follow you. Okay, proactive career management. So have the rhino voice in your head, which is squashing the imposter syndrome that's sitting on this shoulder. You just make it go away. Be confident. Give yourself really positive self-talk. Look back on your experiences and know that you can get through things. This is the important thing. So on this page, I'm going to start from the bottom. And I've talked about this already through the headwinds, is building relationships. As I said before, especially in a corporate environment, build those relationships. If you're looking to progress your career, it doesn't matter whether you're a female in a homogeneous sector where there aren't a lot of women, or you're gender diverse, or you're somewhere where there's a lot of people like you. Building relationships is fundamental. We all spend more time at work than we do at home. At least I do, and I have for a very long time. So work off should be a good place where you want to be, and you respect the people that you work with. And I would say that many of the headwinds that you face as a woman in IT, if you build those relationships across the organization, not just within your organization, within business teams and in areas like that, it will serve you well, because what you will find is you'll end up with strong allyship across the organization, right? That knows you well and knows your brand. And we'll talk about that a little bit in a couple more slides about managing your brand. But if you keep that consistent and reliable and you've got strong relationships, that will help you. Navigating purposely, this is about making decisions, don't drift, focus on success in your current role. So if you're feeling overlooked, if you want that next step, find ways to make clear decisions to help you towards that goal. Sometimes to reach the goal, it's looking externally outside of your workplace in order to find experiences to fill the gaps that work won't necessarily provide you. So I would say I'm on boards because I want to learn the nuances that are different in helping to manage an arts organization. in comparison to a software company? Well, those are very different, and I can learn a lot from that. And a nonprofit versus a profit. So you can find different things from different volunteer opportunities. And then in your current role, focus on knocking that one out of the park. The best way to attract attention to yourself for a next role is to do a really wonderful, fantastic, and strong execution of the role you're in today. And then set clear intentions. I think this is important when I mentor people. I often ask, what do you think your dream job is, and tell me exactly what you would hate doing. It's really important for you to understand those things that you don't want to do, especially if the future looks unclear, because at least it will shorten the list to things that might be possibilities. So, from an anecdotal story, I have one. I was talking to a mentor when I was working in Calgary. They were going to promote me within the corporate safety organization. They were very excited and they told me that they were thinking of me for this. And I said, please don't. It was not the job I wanted. I wanted to go back into technology and I wanted a technology centric job. And if I hadn't said anything, my career probably would have taken a completely different trajectory. Probably would have figured out how to make it fulfilling for myself, but at the same time, it wasn't the direction I wanted, and it helped me navigate through the path in more of a focused direction that I wanted to take it in. So make sure you work with your managers, work with your mentors to help them understand what you want and what you don't want. Mentorship. Um, so this is so important. If you don't have a mentor, find one. It's so important to have mentors. I have many of them, and some of them I've had for, oh gosh, almost 20 years now, right? So it's important to seek mentors. Find people that are, if your organization is big enough, find people within your organization because they kind of get the context of where you're working that you can talk to, and you can talk to freely for advice, and it won't impact you from a career perspective. They're just there to help mentor you and guide you. Externally, find people that have experiences that you want to learn more about, who you look up to, who you think have navigated certain experiences in ways that you respect. I will tell you that the best mentors are ones that you reach out to yourself. Often people will say yes. But there's a promise you need to make to that mentor to make it a valuable relationship and and that value is reciprocated, and that's showing progress. So when working with a mentor, I've yet to meet a mentor that has not enjoyed the experience, if they're getting feedback from the mentee. So leverage them for the advice, talk to them, and then demonstrate that you're growing from the advice that they are providing you. And that will keep that relationship going long term. And I would say sustain relationships. Sometimes former managers, people that you're working with now, end up being mentors, and it can be reciprocal. Sometimes you have different skill sets and you mentor each other in the long term, and they can become really, really good friends. I have a number of mentors that I continue to talk to that live in Houston, they live in Calgary, and I talk to them often, and we support one another as we've progressed in our career, which then moves to the pay it forward side of things. Become a mentor to emerging talent. It doesn't matter where you are in your career. You could be a new hire at a company or in a senior leader executive role. There's always someone that you can help coach and mentor in the organization that is looking for help. If you're a new hire, help a co-op, help a university student. If you're midway in your career, help someone that's trying to figure out whether they want to go into a technical role or a leadership role, and talk to them about your experiences so they can figure out what they want to do. I would say some of the best learning about leadership that I have had is the time that I've spent with mentees in talking with them, because that mentorship from the mentee can reverse, where you can learn as you progress in your career so much from the individuals that you are mentoring, because it's a different perspective that you can add to your pool of knowledge to become a better leader, whether it's technically or a people leader. All right, career difference makers. This is about your brand. As I said before, it's really, really important to understand that reliability speaks louder than ambition. You can have all the ambition in the world, but you need to prove that you're ready for it. You have the capability and you have the drive and the potential for it. Early career advice I would have, and this is one my brother gave to me, and I think it was genius because I remember calling him when I first started working as a developer in oil and gas. I was like, oh, I don't know, I don't like these applications I'm supporting. I'm not loving my job, and he just said, just become the go-to person, and you'll get interesting problems. And he was right. So that is one I'm paying forward from my brother. Clear and concise communication backed up with on-time results builds credibility. When you make a promise, fulfill it on time with strong results. And when you're working with leaders, be honest about the challenges and show up with solutions. And solutions can be options. So sometimes you've got a number of solutions and you're not quite sure which one to go with. But integrity is so important here, and showing that you've done a little bit of the legwork in order to identify what possible solutions are is really important. So if you look down the left-hand side, if you wanted to think of keywords that you want to have in your mind in terms of difference makers for your career, it's consistency, it's accuracy, it's persistence, and it's authenticity. And it's your personal brand, and you need to own it. Always think about, if the door is closed and someone's talking about me at work, what do I want them to be saying about me? And think about that always and stay true to it. It's really, really important. One last piece of advice in terms of strategic execution. So when you're leading, and I would say that this has been really important to me as a success maker, as a female in IT, and it goes all the way back to the relationship building that I think is so important. And and for me, it's just something that I want to know the people I'm working with, and I spend a lot of time at work. I'm dedicated to the strategies and objectives that my team and I are responsible for. And so I'm thinking about work a lot, and I want to have fun, and I want to respect the people that I'm working with. So I really focus hard on building those relationships. It will help your strategic execution, especially when you're facing headwinds. So it's really about understanding who those decision makers are. And I'll tell you, in a corporate environment, the decision makers often look to other people to help them make that decision. Watch who they look to. And those people that they look to, you need to spend a lot of time with those individuals because they are the influencers to the decision makers. And building those strong relationships at the decision maker and influencer level will pay off dividends. And those relationships, if you nurture them and sustain them over time, will give you your community of allies. We all know this. I think it's just repeating many things that you've heard before. Engage your stakeholders early, involve the key players from the beginning. And going back to that top piece, if you have strong relationships with the people that you're working with, it's easy to engage as stakeholders early because you're probably connecting with them on a regular basis. And so you've all got an ear to the ground. It's easy to engage them. And then build the plan together. Collaboration is key, especially when you're facing headwinds. Collaborate with folks, utilize the rhinoceros tactics to ensure that you're being heard, that you can show up with confidence and feel like you belong. Build those relationships so you have allies around you that will help lift you up. And that reliability and relationship building will drive success more effectively than an isolated ambition. If we look at the core things in order to succeed, I would say it's strategic execution and your brand are the most important things to think about. So closing thoughts. Um, I won't go through all the points here. It's really the tech industry doesn't need perfect female leaders. None of us are perfect. We never will be. Shut down that voice inside of your head that says, I need to be perfect before I can forge ahead. I would say that the courage is the confidence to move forward even when you think you might fail. Just move forward and find the people around you that will help you figure it out. The tech industry needs visible female leaders. So all of us on this call are part of that, and being visible and being allies to those around us and walking confidently. So the next generation of female IT leaders will walk with confidence as well. So my call to action for you today is find a piece of the rhino within you. Choose one strategy, choose one thought, one thing that I talked about today that you can start using inside your head to squash that imposter syndrome voice. I would say, as I said before, if you don't have a mentor, identify your support network, reach out to someone, find a mentor, do it soon. Mentors are so fundamental. I mean, I don't think I'd be where I am without the strong mentorship that I've received throughout my career. It really is a difference maker. And then step into your influence. Think about your Reiner persona and define how you'll use your voice immediately after this call today. How can you move forward? How can you start using your voice to build confidence in yourself and confidence in others that are watching you and want to have confidence also? Thank you.
There we go. Thank you so much, Maureen, for your presentation. I love the rhinoceros comparison. It's definitely one we've never seen before, so it's great. Now we're going to move over to the Q&A portion. So if you have any questions for Maureen while she's on stage here, feel free to pop them into the Q&A tab. So it's right by the chat. It's just a few over. You can ask questions anonymously, so don't be shy. And if you can't think of a question, there's a bunch that are already popping up in there. So feel free to upvote the ones that resonate with you or that you want to see answered. And hopefully we'll get to as many as we can. Okay, so to kick it off, what advice do you have for newcomers to Canada trying to break into the tech industry here? I wonder if you can maybe compare it a little bit to your time in the US as well, how it's like a little bit different culturally.
Sure. Well, I think specifically for a technical professional, the assumption for all organizations is that if you have the training behind you, it's somewhat universal, right? I've worked with technical professionals around the world, and I would say I've met people that are fabulously competent everywhere, right? And so I think just as it is for individuals that are from Canada and those that aren't, you got to get your resume out there. You've got to start meeting people. Meeting people is really the best way to understand where those opportunities might lie, find mentors that are connected to the tech industry and take advantage of that. If I compare and parallel to my time in Houston, so yeah, the United States it's the same but different. And I would say I relied really heavily on other Canadians. So find your network of people that are from the same country or area that you're from. I found other Canadians that I worked with, and we talked together about some of the challenges we had. I would say sometimes we were underestimated all the time. I tell you, Canadians just have a different way of dealing through challenges. I know that behind the scenes they'd say, "Oh, she's from Canada. It's okay. We'll get our way," and they wouldn't get their way, and we'd work it out in a without bullying and things like that. So find people that are experiencing some of the same things, because you can learn strategies from them, and build your network, get to know people, get your resume out there. That would be my answer.
100%. As an events manager, come to as many events as you can. Events like this, events in person, wherever you can meet and network and grow your network is super valuable, especially in Winnipeg. It's a very small city. It's a small
Everyone knows everyone. Meet 5 people and you've already made a circle of friends that probably know each other. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so how can underrepresented individuals in tech cultivate confidence in a system that is not designed with them in mind? So that was sort of the ethos of most of the presentation, but I guess let's really focus on the building confidence part.
Okay, I got to read it again. So
Yeah.
It's systems not designed. So okay, I'm going to say we're talking about not like applications and systems. We're talking about the proverbial systems. Yes?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the headwinds and different ways of dealing with it, right? So get a network. I mean, this all comes back to making friends, I think, honestly. the best way you can start to counteract the systems that aren't designed for people like you in an environment is building relationships with people. And when you build relationships with people and you become friends, they care a lot. They care a lot. And then you get more comfortable sharing the ways in which the systems aren't working for you, and they will help with allyship. So I would say earlier on in my career, there were some really uncomfortable moments for me as an only female that didn't feel good, right? And I built relationships with people. I would say at the very beginning of my career, I didn't always say anything because I was embarrassed and didn't want to go talk to someone that didn't look like me about it. But then I built really strong friendships, and I've done this going forward, built strong friendships with folks at work and found others that I could talk to about some of my challenges. And sometimes they stood up for me because they had the voice that was respected at that time, and they would deal with it in a discreet manner and help me through it. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
Even sometimes just having those people cheering you on too gives you a lot more confidence.
For sure. It does. It does.
How do you, okay, so with building networks and making friends, what happens when it doesn't work out? So how do you navigate if you don't get along with the decision maker or the influencer? Is there a way to circumvent this, or do you aim to win them over?
I always aim to win them over. Always, every time. When they go low, I go high. I think, a decision maker that is vehemently against you, that you take the time to work with and understand, you will learn something that maybe you didn't consider from that conversation. There's usually some validity in that individual's characteristic of putting their heels in the mud and saying no. There's probably something that can be learned. I also work with the influencers because sometimes the decision maker will never like me. And not everyone's going to like me. I'm not perfect, and that's just the way it's going to go. But working through the network of individuals that convince that person, if you can get them to support you and you can listen to them and amicably get to a solution that they'll bring forward to the decision maker, more often than not, they will agree with the influencers and decide yes, because their team decides yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and then this one's from Victoria. So thank you for the inspiration. I would like to ask, what would be the most effective approach for finding a mentor? Why a mentor would be interested to spend his or her time to do this activity? Oh, yeah. And what I think you sort of covered a little bit of like how you get back from mentoring as much as you give. But yeah, how do you find somebody?
I don't know. You just kind of come across them. If anyone's ever made a friend that they just vibe with immediately, you just know that person's going to be, okay, this is a relationship that I think is going to work. Start it with a coffee, right? You work your network, go to things like women in tech events, meet people. And you can usually tell in the first couple minutes if there's a positive vibe there and a connection. The first step is always just go have a coffee, have a virtual half-hour session. Normally, people will say yes, and they'll find the time to make that happen, see if it clicks, and then it can evolve. If you see someone at work that you admire and you want to have as a mentor, send an email and ask. I've never been told no. But it comes with conditions. It comes with the condition of if you're going to ask for someone to be your mentor, you need to show up with problems that you need help solving. Right. And with every meeting that you have, you need to show that you've made progress and talk about what you tried based on their advice, how it went. Because if it's just a conversation and nothing comes out of it, mentors are generally quite busy. And what they get out of it is helping someone grow. And so you need to give them that opportunity to see the growth happen, and they're helping make that happen. And usually that works.
Yeah. And if you're asking for advice, definitely take it and,
yeah.
and then report back.
The advice doesn't always work, remember, right? Your mentor has a different experience, is working potentially in a different team or a different workplace environment. But, figuring out and navigating careers takes some experimentation. and getting advice from others. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but then you can have the conversation about what did work and what didn't and move forward from there. Yeah.
Awesome. So in your current role, how are you breaking barriers to having more women in tech? Is there anything that you do
Yes,
to support?
I am passionate about this. So there's a number of things that we're looking at. Um, one of the challenges that we have just in general in society is the pipeline, and I want to influence the pipeline early on. So we're working at PayWorks to have stronger engagement at the middle years level, to be involved in events where female and gender diverse individuals are doing tech things. So how can we support that? How can we help mentor? How can we just get tech as something that female and gender diverse individuals at the middle school level might be interested in, so that they may choose more STEM type things through high school. When we're interviewing, we really try to make sure that we have diversity in resume collection and all of those sorts of things. And my hope and my desire is that by the time I retire, and there's lots of time before that happens, the gender diversity within the IT organization represents what I see outside on the street. Yeah, it's important.
Awesome. And then, one more question. My technical team has a wide set of skills, some of them that don't have a background, that I don't have a background on. As a leader, how do you navigate speaking on technical areas when you don't have any background?
Well, you figure it out, right? So you know the areas that you're really confident on, right? And you rely on that. And then research, read. There's a lot of information out there that you don't need to pay for, that you don't need to go to courses for to keep up with technical knowledge. Follow the tech section of the newspaper. Ask Gen AI to write you white papers on technology you're not super comfortable with. Read through it. Talk to the people on your team. Get them to teach it to you at a high level, right? Depending on where you are in the organization, you don't necessarily have to be super deep in every single technology. But there's a number of tactics. I learn from my team. I research, and then if I'm ever presenting on a certain topic, I leverage my team and I think myself of all the possible questions I might get asked, and I make sure that I have answers to all of them. And through that research and answering all of them, I'm usually pretty prepared to answer any questions that come my way.
Awesome. So it's just coming prepared for the most part too. Okay, those were all the general questions. So now I'm going to selfishly ask one because I know you have an extra slide made for this.
Oh, I do? Yeah.
How would you describe your inner rhinoceros? So let's go back to that.
Okay, let's go there. I have to refer to it really quick. Where are we? There we go. My inner rhinoceros. It's been a career that's been interesting. It's been really fun, and it's been really challenging, which I love. I love new things. I love constantly learning. But I would say if I map to those rhino qualities, the thick-skinned resilience. I mean, when I was out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I was training to be a ballet dancer, and here I am, the CTO of an organization. So what I thought I wanted to be at 18 is not what I ended up doing. But I figured it out, right? I went into teaching, decided I didn't want to do that, and then I thought, oh, I'll try this IT thing, and here we are. So I think I just saw every opportunity. Everything that came my way as an opportunity to grow and learn, and um, persevered through the sink or swim opportunities. There were a lot of them. I would say working for a large multinational company, they threw me into many situations to see if I could handle it. And every single one of them had energized me. So I was excited by it. I was really determined. Back to some of the contextual comments that were made to me. I don't know. They just didn't deter me. They actually made me feel more energized to prove that I belonged, and I wasn't just a DIB pick. I'm here for a reason. I've been really hyper focused on technology and how it delivers value to the business. And my mantra is bring on the challenge. Tell me you think I can't make it happen, I'll make it happen.
Absolutely.
I would say adaptable, right? Working in oil and gas and agriculture and technology sectors, they're all a little bit different. And like I said, I mean, I like to prepare. So I was able to create my brand quite quickly by showing up prepared, asking tough questions, and adding information to the pool of knowledge that maybe others hadn't thought of, and quickly built the reputation as the fixer. If there was something going sideways, my phone number was often the first one called, and I liked that. It was fun. Yeah, and I would say every opportunity that I saw, it was just how do I rally the right people around me to help make it happen. It wasn't clear, it wasn't smooth, but it was a lot of fun with some really frustrating moments. But those frustrating moments always turned into an opportunity for growth. I think there's a couple of folks at PWorks on this call, but I have said before, if you feel like you're going to throw up, it's good. It means you're going to grow. Embrace it.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I think that's all the time we have today. It's almost 1 o'clock. So I'm going to wrap this up real quick here. Huge heartfelt thank you, Maureen Kinner, for sharing with us your time, your experiences, your wisdom, your insights on leadership and influence, and how to navigate a career in tech is very empowering. We're grateful that you were able to join us today. And thank you for helping us think more boldly and lead with impact like a rhinoceros.
Absolutely. No problem. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. Hopefully, we'll see you at our next event in person on June 11th. Feel free to stick around and network. The chat will remain open, and we'll also have the tables open till about 1:15. And then Remo will close out. So thank you, everyone.